Well, ladies and gentlemen, week 8 is finally upon us, and it's taken us a while to get here, and it's a very, very unique week, and probably for the rest of the season is going to be very unique, as we are on online play instead of in studio, and yet again I'm bringing you another Fnatic game. I know, considering we had to do a flashback to week 7 for our game last week where they faced off against G2. We've got another Fnatic game here where they face off against XL, and obviously I think this is going to be a very interesting matchup. Obviously later on today, when I'm actually making this video, we'll see the Immortals in action, so this should be a very, very interesting matchup considering the change schedule to the LCS, and as well as the LEC being a bit more freaky. But enough of this, let's jump into game where we're going to be breaking down Fnatic versus XL. So let's play that fancy draft music and get straight into this. So we are going to now load up into the picks and bans here. Obviously we're going to start with our infamous bans, and we see quite a lot of focus towards that bot side of the map in our bans this episode. And we see Rakan, MF and Set banned out by XL. Rakan's a great ban, obviously that lowers the chances of Xayah being played to lower the combo of the two. MF is just super duper strong, the second tier mid laner, and is a very good response ban to what Fnatic ban out first. And obviously Set's the premier top laner that can be also flexed bot side, and is very, very good. As for Fnatic's bans, the Senna is the first ban, probably the second best ADC on the current meta. She's very, very good and strong, and is quite easy to work with. As for the second ban from Fnatic, it's Aphelios, probably the premier bot laner in the current meta, very, very strong. And the Calista is a very good ban here from Fnatic to round out their first band. A champion that can combine well with Zax and also Nocturnes, as well as Tarex. Now it's time for the fun stuff here with the first pick up here for XL. It's going to be Diorn. Obviously a very, very good champion. Diorn Horn provides so much CC. It's a good champion that can be flexed into multiple lanes and does do a lot of bulky tankiness that you want in the current meta. As for the response from Fnatic, they pick up the Gragas and Pantheon. Gragas technically could be played support, but it's predominantly known for being the best AP jungler in the meta. Obviously has a lot of disrupt and is very, very good. Pantheon is another champion, has a global ultimate, get in between lanes quick and fast. Kind of how the current meta is seeing out is people wanting to join team fights as soon as possible and win and just dive constantly. As for the response for XL, we see the Karthus, probably the other top AP jungler, bar say a Talia or a Elise. Very, very good. You just press R and you win usually. You stack up that Dark Harvest as well and you're pretty good. And Renekton is just a good top lane pick. It's quite safe in terms of matchups. It does mitigate the matches like Kennen. Does quite well into Aatrox as well as GP. So that is a fairly safe pick. And the final pick up here for Fnatic in this phase is the Cassiopeia. Now that Cassiopeia does kind of play a part of this game because you do not know where it could technically go. Obviously Pantheon could be flexed anywhere, similar to Gragas, but he's not known for being that jungler, but who knows. Anyway, Cassiopeia, very strong AP champion, has a lot of burst in terms of the Twin Fangs if she catches you in her miasma. And the ultimate there just stops you in tracks, and the Twin Fangs just kill you out. But it's a very, very nice champion. And as a whole, this draft from Fnatic, it has got quite a lot of AP, but has a bit of AD in there as well as the XL team having a similar sort of effect. But that is our first pick phase over and done with right now. Let's jump into the next ban phase. So, the bot lane fun has not ended yet, ladies and gentlemen. More bans aimed at that bot side of the map. Fnatic ban out Tom Kench and Nautilus, two good support picks. Obviously, Tom is a safe pick if you want to play something like Isaiah, or say I don't know, what would be another champion? Ezreal, their options kind of MMO. Nautilus obviously is a good engage, has a hook, kind of removing probably the best hooker in the game currently. And on XL's side we see the Ezreal and Braum bans. Ezreal is probably the safest bot laner that was available at the time, I do believe. Yeah, he is definitely the safest option, probably the highest tier that was available as well. Has a lot of poke and a lot of damage as well, and is a very, very good champion. And the Braum obviously is another champion who can just remove poke from the game, remove CC. Also works well that XL do have the Ornn, so banning the Braum by themselves means that there's no straight up counter to the Ornn Horn, and also means that there's a bit more playability towards that bot side of the map. And as a whole, it's a very, very nice team draft that XL have, as well as Fnatic, to be honest. And finally, we hit the last few picks here, and it's obviously going to be bot side picks. Now, Fnatic go for probably a safest option, support first. They decide to lock in the Thresh, obviously has a hook, lock up champions by pulling them in slightly and then flaying them back into your team, as well as the Lantern to provide a bit of safety. Obviously you can allow escapes and also engages, and is a very, very nice utility tool. As for the response from XL, they choose to lock in the Draven here. Obviously a fairly unique bot laner that doesn't get to see much play in competitive, and you're reliant on catching them axes. You do a lot of damage though. It's amazing that a Caitlyn wasn't picked up here, who sees a bit more play than the Draven obviously, but is a very, very nice champion. You do have some sort of damage avoidance with your E, and also the W to speed you up and chase down targets. As for the support pickup here for XL, they decide to lock in a Blitzcrank. Now, this champion is very, very good. It was the first ever hook champion. It's a very nice pickup here. Obviously, you just put your hook on someone, you pull them in, you then E them. What can they do now? They're pretty much CC chained forever if you land an ultimate to silence them. Yeah, they're not doing much. And as the response for Fnatic, we do see the Kaiser, probably the best AD carry that was available, I guess would be the best way to put it, of the pool of champions. I guess a Caitlyn would be good, but Kaiser does provide a bit of options in terms of the build. You can technically go AP, as well as hybrid, and also AD as an option. And considering the Fnatic team, it's more unlikely going to be an AD Kaiser, but that's the draft. Let's jump into the game. Well, immediately, XL were put on the back foot, and one interesting thing to put here is that it was what seems to be a traditional sort of thing happening in ranked. Invade onto that bottom tribush area, similar to how teams are on blue side invading the top side tribush up by the river, and it sort of looked like that Blitz was hanging around in that brush, gets hooked, pulled back into his team, into the Fnatic team, and then Pantheon obviously can stun him up with his W if he starts it, or Q to land a load of damage. Same with Kaiser, who's probably started Q or W, and yeah, Thresh lands the early kill with probably Ignite. He probably would try to pass it over to either of the two carries in the team. But yeah, obviously the game started off pretty bad for the XL team. Now, with an early first blood secured for Fnatic, going up against a Draven, obviously you don't have to force that lane too hard with that gold you've accrued, and considering how Draven is as a champion, who is very, very lane heavy poke and can do a lot of damage early, and considering it's paired with a Blitzcrank as well, it's kind of hard for Fnatic to push out anyway. So what they did in this game, which was very, very nice in the laning phase of the game, was very, very nice baiting. As you see, Fnatic are playing quite laid back behind their minions, and essentially Thresh is playmaking every single play here in the game, and he's what kind of catalyzes Fnatic's lead throughout the game. He is the catalyst to every sort of play, and it's done by a lot of bait by Fnatic. Obviously they play very safe. You then obviously get hit by the hook, then you're dead to rights. And one thing to note is there's a lot of targeting towards Torre's Blitz in this game. He gets hooked quite a lot, and that gives over a hell of a lot of kills to Fnatic, and that kind of gets them to the midpoint of the game with a nice, juicy gold lead. Now, with the advantage accrued throughout the game and the kill advantage over on Fnatic's side, we see the mid game by Fnatic is played through vision and knowledge of the enemy's position. We see two pretty easy kills picked up here for Fnatic in quick succession, down to players on XL being caught out on vision, and this kind of also links into an earlier point about Thresh's playmaking. Thresh lands a hook, he kills someone. Pantheon jumps on someone, they're pretty much dead considering they pop a vision scryer and they essentially give away their position because you see the actual vision area appear on your minimap, so you kind of know where it's originated from and you know where there's going to be an enemy. Now, that plays in so well to the isolation part of the Fnatic team. When a target is isolated, they kind of allow you to lock them up and CC them dead. And that is something we saw quite a lot of in this game that kind of gave them a very, very nice lead. However, in this game we do see a slight fight back out of XL around the second spawning of Rift Herald, and this is a very interesting thing. What works so well with this XL team is their crowd control. The amount of lockup they have via the Ornhorn, and then the Renekton diving into the backlines and eating them, it kind of means that they're not going to be easy to deal with in close quarters situations. And in the Rift Herald pit, with 3 members sitting inside the back of the pit for Fnatic, they just get locked up by the Ornhorn, and then the dive from the Draven and the amount of damage he can pile up early essentially means that every man in that Herald pit is going to die unless they can flash or use an escape tool to get out, like say a lantern, but the lantern user is already dead. That being said, that slight pullback into the game by XL gets completely undone. With the Rift Herald fight won, and them thinking they're strong enough to actually fight Fnatic head on, they isolate themselves. Yeah. More isolation costing XL this game. As we see in the bot side map, them pushing for the first tier turret in that bot lane. They get collapsed on. Pantheon, TP behind. You're essentially dead now, because he's already got behind you. Thresh can hook you, you're dead. and that kind of means more Fnatic control throughout the entire game, and it kind of means that you're not going to be able to do much. However, XL do keep trying to fight. They do keep trying to grab objectives, and yet again, it's what cost them. This time they use their Rift Herald to try and brute force the mid lane turret here, and it works. I do believe they do get in a mid lane turret. However, they do sacrifice their support and a lot of map pressure. When Gragas is able to get in behind your team due to having vision and knowledge of where the entire XL team is, he can just work his way round the side of them, get behind them, and land a perfect cast that literally just isolates the blitz with the entire Fnatic team, and the entire XL team have no way to re-engage. It's phenomenal play by Selfmade in this game, honestly, with that cask, and it's used phenomenally well in this teamfight. If you can call it a teamfight, it's more of just a pick-off and then scatter from XL. And finally, with the gold lead secured and Baron, it's fairly easy for Fnatic just to push into the base of XL. Due to the uncontrollable lead that they have, there isn't much that can be done here, and Fnatic essentially push out the game, win it with ease, and there isn't any fight back from XL at this point in the game, due to the fact that they're just out of it. Fnatic have the better scaling at this point, and Draven really cannot do much, considering his support has spent most of the game in the fountain, dead. So, what was my overall thoughts on this game? Well, I honestly feel that Fnatic played their team comp that they drafted phenomenally. The use of the Thresh in support was played amazingly. Hylissang pretty much has mastered that champion. And yeah, there was one or two faults here and there, but they still won the game. He was still the main player for this Fnatic team, and the way that everything worked out with how the team comp was drafted worked phenomenally. Obviously, Gragas Disrupt allows pickups and pick-offs in teamfights if you get the perfect cask. Pantheon, a great chase down champion. You just press yes, Grand Starfall behind the enemy running away, and they're essentially dead because you can just land a stun, and the chase down crew of the Kaiser and the Thresh can bring in so many more champions into a fight. Like, you don't realise how good the team collapse ability the comp Fnatic drafted has, and why it's such a good overall team comp. As for XL's team comp, you could kind of tell how they wanted to play. Obviously, they wanted to feed all the gold into Draven, and from there be able to carry the game from him. Granted, that kind of got ruined because his bot lane got killed off early by literally the first few seconds into the game, having your Blitzcrank die immediately to what could only assume be a Thresh hook and collapse from the entire Fnatic team. Kind of dampens the chances of you having a strong bot lane, considering your team is put slightly behind by giving over first blood so early. Now, as a whole, this team did manage to make a little bit of kind of fight back in the mid game, obviously, but they kind of threw it away by them trying to overachieve. Like, they felt forced into having to make plays for objectives like bot lane turret and mid lane turret, that they kind of had to give up something in return for something back. Fnatic were always going to trade or get pickups throughout the entire game, and you could tell that that sort of mentality that Fnatic were playing with, it's so hard for you to claw back anything. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode of the LEC Anarchy analysis. Obviously, Fnatic versus XL was covered this game. Next week, I don't know if we'll have one, obviously, with how the LEC is functioning, and the footage is kind of hard to obviously obtain due to them having a rough sort of stream this week, I would say, and the games not being easily obtainable. Anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new to it if you want to, and I will see you guys later. Peace out.